Goosebumps, the scariest series in children's literature. I've taken it upon myself to summarize every Goosebumps story ever told, in the hopes that we all come out knowing a bit more about the things that go bump in the night. Not just the stories, but their adaptations too. So if you're ready, viewer beware, you're in for a scare, as we dive into book number 11, The Haunted Mask. So we've made it to The Haunted Mask, another one of the classic Goosebumps books, with a few sequels, though not nearly as many as some other series. First is our 1993 Jacobus cover, iconic. Our tagline is, "If looks could kill," and our back tagline is, "Face to face with a nightmare." Next is our 1994 UK cover. This one is definitely less scary than the original. The mask is definitely smiling and looks more like a lizard or a goblin from Dungeons & Dragons like than usual. Back to the typical covers. In 1995, they re-released Haunted Mask again, most likely to coincide with the TV show. If you didn't know, The Haunted Mask was a two-part special, and the first 2 episodes of the entire series. So the cover is a bit flashier, tells you to watch the show, and even contains a cardboard mask, which I can't believe I never cut out for myself. Next is the always underwhelming 2003 reprint. As usual, a differently colored slime, a zoomed-in artwork, and not much else to say. For the last standalone print, here is the 2008 classic Goosebumps print, made to tie in with the Horrorland sequel book. This is another print early enough to contain some bonus features. Dorman's illustration is dark, but with a nice contrast between the sunset and the mask itself. Scaring people is part of the story too. Nice. For the bonus features, we have some tips for trick-or-treating, fun facts on masks, and my favorite, the splat stats. Power scaling Goosebumps monsters is never not funny. Lastly, we have the recently released Haunted Mask graphic novel with cover and art by Maddie Gonzalez. Is that a Nightkin in the background?
Hello again, dear.
Like Night of the Living Dummy, I'll be covering it as well, in between the book and the episode. I'm unfamiliar with the copyright on this, so I'll be taking a few photos and showing them for integral scenes or just the nice art. If the story's accurate, like Night of the Living Dummy, it might be a short section. One of these recently released for Monster Blood, so I definitely need to get my hands on that and cover it. But that's all for the covers I have. Time for the summary. Our main character for this book is Carly Beth Caldwell, who is discussing some Halloween business with her friend Sabrina Mason. Carly Beth doesn't know what to be for Halloween. Maybe a witch costume? This sets Sabrina off as she mocks Carly Beth for being a scaredy cat. She even got scared by a ghost prank at Sabrina's house just the other day. It seems the crux of this story is that everyone scares Carly Beth for fun, and maybe she'll scare them someday. In a twist no one could see coming, Carly Beth is actually 11 in this book, not 12. It might be because Stein already had the sequel planned, but who knows. She's actually a month older than Sabrina, but her small face and Sabrina's tall, dark, and sophisticated look make people think otherwise. Carly Beth reconsiders her decision to be a witch, but she screams as a kid drops his lunch tray. She takes a minute to calm down, but she screams again with our first shoulder grab of the book. This was the work of Carly Beth's so-called friend, Steve Boswell, who also tends to scare her. Him and his friend Chuck Green sit at the table, described as practically brothers in the phenotypic sense, and they both loved to scare her. Despite claiming to never fall for their shit again, Carly Beth always does. And now she's about to do it again. Steve asks Carly Beth if she wants this foil-wrapped turkey sandwich that he thinks his mom made too dry, and she's so hungry that she gladly takes it. What follows is basically the Goosebumps equivalent to the pig's blood scene from Carrie. She bites into the sandwich and something's off. Removing the bread, she notices a huge brown worm sitting on top of the turkey. Everyone starts laughing, but Steve tells Carly Beth it's just a rubber worm, see? So she touches the worm, but it actually is a real worm. The entire cafeteria starts laughing at her and Carly Beth leaves, vowing revenge. After school, Carly Beth goes home immediately as everyone is still making fun of her. Unfortunately, this will probably be remembered for her whole life. She didn't mention tasting the worm though. What does a worm taste like? Leave a comment below if you know. If anyone actually knows, I'll mention it when we make it to Go Eat Worms, I guess. At home, Carly Beth finds her mom, a chubby but energetic woman who doesn't really look like her at all. She's too embarrassed to mention what happened at school, but her mom pulls her away to look at something. A head. Not just any head, but hers. It's uncanny, and looks just like her. Remember that fact when we get to the episode. I don't think it'll add up. She thinks it's creepy and not in a it looks so good that it's scary kind of way. This upsets her mom, who says she made it out of love. This understandably makes Carly Beth feel like an asshole, so she thanks Mom for it and just says vaguely that she's had a bad day. Looking at the sculpture again, Carly Beth swears it just grinned at her, but it just must be the light in here. Mom mentions that, okay, so I know her full name is Carly Beth, but I'm just going to say this so many times. So just like how I called Monster Blood MB, I'm going to call Carly Beth CB. I'll even mark it on the right here so you know what I mean. So Mom mentions to CB that she has the duck costume ready upstairs. Apparently at the mall, CB was eyeing a duck outfit before, so Mom made her one herself. Awesome. Mom could really start just making cosplays. CB is like, damn, I don't want to be cute. I want to be scary this year, but I might as well go look at it. She recalls seeing a new store that sells masks, but now she has to be a duck. Damn you, Mom, for being the most loving and attentive parent in Goosebumps history. Approaching her room, CB notices that her door is closed. Not normal. She hears breathing, and when she opens the door, the costume is alive. It jumps at her, the white feathers flying as it keeps quacking. But then CB realizes it's just Noah, her annoying 8-year-old brother. Noah asks if he can have the costume. It really fits him. At first, CB's annoyed that Noah always wants her stuff, but then she starts thinking, maybe. CB gets a call from Sabrina about the science fair tomorrow. They've got a typical solar system model made out of ping pong balls, so Sabrina comes over to help finish it up. CB asks why the boys did that horrible thing with the worms, and Sabrina says it's just 'cause she's so scarable. She's not quiet like other people. She screams like a maniac, and people find that weakness funny. Well, no more. From now on, CB is never getting scared again. A quick jump to the next day and the science fair is underway. Their model is a little rough, and this is old enough that Pluto was still considered a planet. Some kid named Martin built an entire computer by himself, and a girl built a robot arm, but who's counting? The judges approach the girls' table, and Steve announces in the distance that his tarantula escaped. Don't get scared, CB, you have to be strong. And then the pinch. Tarantula teeth into her leg, and she screams. CB kicks around, knocking over most of the project. Everybody starts laughing, even the principal and the science teacher. Reality sets in, and it was just Steve pinching her leg. Surrounded by the laughter of the entire school, except for Sabrina, who wants CB to help her clean up, CB runs away. She will get revenge. But how? Later, CB calls Sabrina about meeting up at 7:30 for trick-or-treating. Steve called and left an empty apology earlier, but Sabrina still thinks the whole thing was funny. Sabrina asks what CB's costume will be, but it's a secret. CB wanted to go to that mask store after school, but Mom made her watch Noah. Now it's 5:45. There's no way a store could be open this late, but it's worth a try, just to avoid wearing a duck costume. She grabs her wallet, hoping that her life savings of $30 is enough for a decent mask. Adjusting for inflation, this is about $66, so damn, that might be good enough. The walk to the store is uneventful, but still scary. She passes by the old, supposedly haunted Carpenter house, which I hope is a reference to Halloween, because, you know, John Carpenter, and it's Halloween. So CB makes it to the store. She does some window shopping, gorillas, aliens, monsters, good, but maybe something better inside. The lights are still on, so she grabs the door and it's locked. A shadow approaches the door. It's a man. He's wearing a suit, as well as a cape. Doing his best Dracula, it seems. He mentions the store normally closes at 5, but who can turn down a paying customer? She wants something scary. The gorilla? Too ordinary. The bloody boar? Not quite right. Frankenstein's monster? Freddy Krueger? E.T.? Just not scary enough. The man tells her she really needs to pick something because it's already past closing, but he's interrupted by a phone call. With his back turned, CB moves around the store, eventually finding a door. Another room? Could this have more masks in it? Eureka! 24 masks. So horrific and lifelike that these are exactly what CB's looking for. Checking them all out, she decides on one. A sickly yellow-green skinned bald mask. It has a flat nose, glowing orange eyes, and a wide grin filled with sharp teeth. She reaches out to touch it, and it cries out. Oh, wait a second. That sound came from behind her. It's the man from before. He looks angry and walks towards CB while saying he's sorry. He's sorry because these aren't for sale. Too scary. He tries to give her a discount on the gorilla mask, but it's not good enough. To scare the boys, she needs to have this one. After relentless persistence, despite the man's warning, he lets her have it, and CB runs out of the store. Who to try the mask on first? Noah. Noah decided last minute to be a cockroach for Halloween, and Mom, the best mom in the world she is, somehow made it herself on such short notice. Putting on the mask, it's actually really tight, and it has a sour old smell to it. Despite that, CB makes it upstairs to scare Noah. Noah, I'm coming for you. She's surprised that her voice comes out sounding so nasty. She definitely isn't doing that herself. Noah is scared shitless. He thinks he's about to get murdered until CB points out that it's her. She's laughing so hard and she goes to take off the mask, but it won't come off. After a lot of struggling, CB manages to pull the thing off. She tosses it towards Noah, and he asks if he can try it out. Unfortunately for him, Carly Beth is late, so she's taking it back. Noah tries to act tough, but he admits that the voice was the scariest part. How did she do it? She has no clue. Back in her room, CB goes over how well that worked. She thinks about what she'll do to Chuck and Steve, something they'll never forget. She has an idea. She grabs an old broomstick and sneaks over to take the sculpted head her mom made. Carefully balancing it, it's like she's carrying her own head around. She puts the mask back on and marvels about how realistic it is. How could that guy at the store not be selling this? She's about to leave when Mom calls out from the kitchen. Let me see how you look in your duck costume. She's screwed. She didn't tell Mom the change in plans, except a phone call. Saved by a phone call yet again. CB makes her way to Sabrina's house, the sculpture bobbing on the stick as she moves. When she gets to the door, she hears two boys behind her. Chuck and Steve. This is her chance. It's dark, so she can't see them well, but she hides behind a bush for the right moment. At a moment's notice, she pops out, emitting a bestial roar at the boys. They fall to the ground scared, but then a woman shows up. Oh shit, this isn't Chuck and Steve, just some little kids. The mom berates her for not having anything better to do, like this isn't Halloween. In CB's head, she thinks about how normally she'd apologize, but she doesn't want to. She starts feeling an intense anger and she yells at the mom and her kids to go away. The mom stands her ground, but the kids keep getting more frightened and they want candy, so they tell mom to just get out of here. CB's anger keeps growing, however. She's gonna tear this woman apart. Now wouldn't that be an interesting turn of events? Alas, the kids get their mom to leave. CB thinks about chasing after them, but the thoughts subside when Sabrina opens her door. Initially, Sabrina's scared. She has no idea who it is. When CB finally says it's her, Sabrina's ecstatic. What an awesome mask. So scary. And that head too. So real. Unfortunately, Chuck and Steve are late, so they start trick-or-treating without them. Sabrina is dressed up as Catwoman, not to be confused with Catwoman. She's extra chatty tonight, and CB silently thinks about how the whole point of tonight was to scare the boys. When Sabrina keeps asking about the mask, CB snaps, "Shut up, shut up, shut up!" and she grabs for Sabrina's throat. Sabrina pulls away, and CB plays it off like it was just a joke, but even she doesn't know why she did that. At a new house, two kids and their mom greet Sabrina and CB at the door. The mom likes the mask, but CB scares the kids so bad they run away, pissing off the mom and confusing Sabrina. The mask made me do it. She meant it as a joke, but how interesting. At another house, okay, the book plays this off as normal, but this is some freaky activity. So they go to a house of a middle-aged man, okay so far. Then he asks them to come inside to show his grandma their costumes, and they do it. Luckily, there's actually a grandma in there, but the grandma might as well be catatonic because she doesn't react at all. And then, as if it wasn't enough, the guy just gives them both a green apple. I don't blame the mask for making Carly Beth heave the apple as hard as she can at this guy's house. Sabrina's really worried. This isn't like her. CB wrestles the other apple from Sabrina and throws it at the house too. The guy pokes his head outside and they run away. Despite the previous concerns, Sabrina laughs. How fun. Still searching for Chuck and Steve, CB decides they split up and runs off. CB's feeling a rush like never before. She hears boys, not the ones she's looking for, but she scares them anyway. Not only that, but she just steals their candy and laughs. Tempted by the power of the dark side, she's itching to scare Chuck and Steve. She finds both boys after a few minutes, and neither of them even bothered to wear a real costume. They didn't even do the football player trick. One's wearing a bandana and eye mask, and the other is supposed to be a homeless guy. She hides behind a hedge and starts to have doubts that it'll even scare them. But fear leads to anger. So with the power of pure hatred, she jumps out. Everything moves slowly for a moment. The boys drop to the ground, horrified. They immediately deduce it must be Carly Beth and commend her for scaring them, but she continues. She tells them that they need to hand over their candy or their heads will join Carly's on the stick. They laugh, but she says she's not joking. That's when they all look at the face that felt so real, and it blinks. Then the lips move, silently saying, "Help me." CB lets go of the broomstick scared. The boys, scared even more, drop the candy and run. In those moments alone, the pure euphoria of the moment sweeps over her. She finally scared the boys, but there was fear too. There's no way that head actually moved, right? Where did it roll to? CB doesn't care. She doesn't need it anymore. She grabs all the candy and runs as far as her breath can take her. Finally stopping, we get another shoulder grab. It's Sabrina. Apparently she's been trying to find CB for hours. They decide to wrap up for the night and head back to check out their candy haul. CB mentions that she saw Chuck and Steve, but lies they just ran away as soon as they saw the mask. Not sure why she wouldn't just gloat about the whole thing, but okay. Back at Sabrina's house, they start checking out their candy. Sabrina takes off her mask, relieved at how much cooler it is now. She mentions that to CB, and she nearly forgot she even had the mask on. She goes to take it off, but oh no, wait! It won't come off! Sabrina initially thinks she's messing around, but CB's panic is clear. It hurts trying to take it off too. It must really be stuck. CB mentions using scissors, but she's going to try to have Sabrina get her hands under the lip like before at first. This is when something strange happens. Sabrina tells her that there is no bottom, no line on the mask. Running her hands along her neck, she realizes it's true. The mask now is her face. CB is starting to lose it. She looks in the mirror and it's true. It's like there's none of her real face left. She starts crying and runs away, leaving Sabrina behind. Passing by more kids that she scares, CB ends up running right towards the party store. A bit of hope rises up in her that the man inside will help, but the lights are off. It's closed. Can we just establish that repeating this cliffhanger is unnecessary? We already knew that she was here past closing a few hours ago. Anyway, CB gets through some stages of grief. It's all just a dream. No, it isn't. Why did I have to wear this stupid thing? What's wrong with me? Now I'll be like this forever. Her moping is cut short when the man appears at the door. He stayed late because he expected her to come back. He tells her to come inside and clarifies that he did say that he didn't want to sell it to her. Oh, and by the way, he can't take it off. Normalize some communication around here. Maybe you should have told her that the thing was evil. Maybe don't have them sitting just a room away from your scary mask store. It's time for the exposition dump. These masks are not masks, but real faces. The man at the store created them in his lab. They used to be beautiful living faces, but once they left the lab, they got gross. Now he calls them the unloved because no one ever wants to see them. But for some reason, every so often, someone comes back here and he just lets them have one, I guess. CB starts freaking out, begging to get the thing off. The man proposes that there is one way to remove it, but if it ever gets put on another person again, it's forever. Well, how do I get it off? It can only be removed once with a symbol of love. Literally how he figured that out, I'll never know. He does not say any more. CB starts screaming. What the hell does that mean? But the man stays cryptic. As she keeps screaming, the faces begin to blink and breathe. You've awakened them all. Run! The man begs her to run, and eventually she does. The faces all begin to fly out of the store and follow her. CB runs, thinking about the words from before. A symbol of love? That head! That statue her mom made. Out of love! Man, I really wish I didn't throw it into someone's yard earlier. Where could it be? She makes her way back to the house from earlier, the one where she let the broomstick lie. But it's not there. All the heads form a wall in front of her. CB turns around to try and run, but then she sees it. Her head is sitting under a nearby tree. She grabs the head, yelling out that it's a symbol of love. The faces all laugh at her as they move closer. Without thinking, CB lowers the head, which somehow replaces itself over the haunted mask. It makes everything dark. She can't see or hear anything. Starting to lose it again, she tugs at the sculpture, and it comes off. The faces are all gone. She places the head down, and as a breeze goes by, she can feel the flap of the mask again. She pulls it off easily. Relieved but exhausted, she heads home. She feels around her face, but can't be sure until she sees a mirror. At the door, Noah answers, but he screams, "Take off that mask! Take it off! You're so ugly!" CB screams. She runs to the mirror and her face is perfectly normal. How could Noah make such a poorly timed joke? Carly Beth is happy. Her mother offers hot cider, concerned where she was this whole time. It's a long story. Well... But then Noah runs into the room. How do I look in your mask? It looks like the horror isn't over for Carly Beth. Will the sequel follow up on what happened to Noah? Maybe not. Obviously, the guy at the store said it could never be taken off again, but judging by the fact that that would actually be life-changing or deadly, I doubt it's going to work that way. For the first book taking place during Halloween, great stuff. You really feel for Carly Beth. I can't fathom the shit she goes through on a daily basis. The entire school board laughs at her. She deserved that revenge. Who's to say how much of the mask was really evil, and how much was her repressed thoughts? That's what makes it so interesting. It's definitely possible it just amplifies her emotions. What could it really do anyway? Eat people? I hope the sequel goes into more depth on the guy that runs the store. Keeping it vague was nice, but you just want to know, right? What do you mean you have a lab where you made living faces? Why are they here? If they got gross when they left the lab, why not just take them back? Yeah, he's a strange figure. Kinda like how Spidey stole his partner's cursed camera invention in Say Cheese and Die. There's still a graphic novel and TV show left, so let's see if the graphic novel changes anything. After reading the adaptation, I have come to the conclusion that yes, a lot of the story is the same. So I'll be showing off some of Maddie Gonzalez's art, some extra parts, and one main change I can recall. The part in the beginning with the glorious shoulder grab, they actually have monster hands. In this adaptation, the science fair actually comes before the worm sandwich, which makes sense because I find the latter much more traumatizing. Mom really is a masterful artist because the sculpture looks exactly like CB. The duck costume too looks great, though it doesn't have white feathers this time. During the worm incident, there are way more worms this time, and Sabrina actually stands up for CB. Excuse my poor photos, but I just have to admire the art in this book. It's got this cute cartoony style with the ability for humor. Look at what Carly Beth imagines for the duck costume. Also, this adaptation takes place in the modern day, so the girls are using FaceTime. We've even got an extra scene in the mask store. Of course, that's R.L. Stine's face. The mask looks pretty nice too. Maybe not that scary, but hey, it's a modern kid's graphic novel. That's not to say it doesn't have some good moments. Look at the moment when the sculpture comes to life. Pretty cool. When the masks come to life, they still look pretty gross. Maybe not covered in blood with stabbed eyeballs gross, but again, there's probably restrictions on this stuff. And of course, I had to take a photo of the cliffhanger scene. That's not all this book has to offer either. It actually has some bonus 4-panel comics you might see in manga, and they're pretty funny. I especially like the middle one where they question, just like I did, why he even sold the mask at all. And he just runs away. Maddie even talks about her experience with the book and her use of Blender to conceptualize the art. Finally, she mentions Curly being hidden in the book somewhere. I actually took about 10 minutes looking through and I didn't find him. Chalk it up to me being tired, but I did find Freddy Fazbear. That's all for the graphic novel. Honestly, when I envisioned covering these books, I expected more content. So when they end up being pretty close to the book, there's not much for me to say. I just hope you enjoyed the art, and maybe you can grab a copy for yourself. On to the classic episodes. So, as the first 2 episodes released for the show, will they make a good impression? R.L. Stine certainly says it will. Carly Beth and Sabrina start the episode in the dark, checking out the new mask shop in town. The owner peeks out at them, looking a lot more threatening than the book or graphic novel made him out to be. CB shows off how easily scared she is while visiting a pumpkin patch, first from a shoulder grab, and then from Book 48, Attack of the Jack-O-Lanterns. Except that was actually Chuck and Steve. CB and Sabrina have their talk about how scareable she is. Sabrina says she's sorry, and CB goes home. The shop owner is a definite creeper now. He even has some warts on his face for extra scary. CB goes home to find Mom's sculpture, and this one definitely has more of a creepy vibe than a lifelike one. At least it's realistically something you could make in an art class. And then the damn thing smiles at you. Ugh. Now that is definitely scary. Just like the graphic novel, they made the duck costume yellow. Noah scares CB and we immediately cut to, what the hell is that, moldy bread? No idea. Chuck scares CB with a talking jack-o'-lantern, reminding me of old memories I used to have getting scared by a talking Christmas tree. They apologize with a peace offering. That offering being a worm sandwich. I guess the 90s were a time where shit like this was normal and funny, because the whole school is cracking up. CB actually tears the duck costume apart and heads off to buy the mask. She lets herself in this time. And yeah, it's about what I expected. Looks like the man isn't here, or never mind, he's just a little deaf. She finds the back room, which must double as the lab in this version, with these beakers of liquid everywhere. She finds the Unloved, too, and the iconic mask. It doesn't have the glowing orange eyes, but it still looks awesome. All the masks even wake up when the man storms in, though CB doesn't notice. The same pleating happens like usual, even the mention of the gorilla mask with real hair, something that every version has made sure to mention. In this version, he even offers it for free, but it's still not good enough. Instead of giving up the mask, however, CB actually takes it while he's distracted, and just leaves the money. She scares Noah with it, but in an interesting change, the scary voice the mask makes still isn't hers, but she's able to just not do it.
Yes! Mom, help! Help! Hey, stupid, it's me, it's Carly Beth.
CB immediately starts acting like a goblin, scaring random people. Sabrina's Catwoman costume sure is something. A nice touch is that when Carly Beth blinks, the mask does too. Notice that there? When CB starts choking Sabrina, she starts going berserk. I mean, damn, look at that, rah! The acting here is actually really good by CB.
I'm sorry. I'm just staying in character, getting in the mood.
We get the scene with the kids at the door and the girls split up. In this version, Chuck and Steve are pirates. They're doling out the goods in the cemetery of all places, and CB finds her way there eventually. In this version, she forces them to apologize for all the times they scared her, and they do. This is when the sculpture, with actual audio, says,
Help me. Talked. Please help me.
CB buries the sculpture in the dirt and runs off to get grabbed by Sabrina. She gloats a lot less about the scare, and she doesn't actually have any candy for herself this time. This is when they realize that there's no line for the mask, and CB freaks out. She runs back to the store and gets the exposition dump on the Unloved, or in this version, the Unloved Ones. At first, the man actually tries to tell her that she has to just live with this now, and then he realizes, yeah, maybe I shouldn't say that. Here's where the episode gets interesting. He explains that he created the faces because he wanted to hide behind them. His depressed thoughts infected the masks, and that's the reason they became so disgusting. His face right now actually is one of them, slowly becoming infected again. CB screaming awakens the masks. He tells her to run, but he locked the damn door for some reason. Luckily, she gets out and runs right to the cemetery. The faces actually recoil from the sculpted head, probably because the effect of putting the head on top of hers was too abstract or expensive to make. She realizes the sculpture was the symbol of love after, and initially she used it as a piece to just show the masks, hey, this is what the real Carly Beth looks like. Noah does the, oh, you look ugly trick, which falls a little flat because we can see her. Everything is all okay, but Noah puts the mask on. The episode ends with R.L. Stine asking what his parents thought of the episode. Yeah. This is one of the most faithful adaptations yet. It is just amazing. People still sell versions of the mask from this episode. It's that iconic. Unfortunately, I don't have one myself. The additional context from the shop owner was an amazing addition. Of course, it lacks a slight bit of nuance with the lack of runtime, but his connection to Carly Beth, as he created the faces as his own mask to hide behind, is brilliant. You read the book and you wonder why he ever made these, or why they even became evil. The reveal that he's still wearing one, but has the self-awareness to try and find a way to help Carly Beth is telling. The Haunted Mask is a book with a clear message, which is to always be true to yourself. Don't try to hide behind something, or become something you aren't just to feel better. This message is one perfectly told through Carly Beth, a girl so easily scared she gets exploited for cheap laughs. It's no doubt a lot of people would find that relatable. An unfortunate part about having sequels, however, is that if Carly Beth ever wears it, we lose all that messaging. And if someone else wears it, well, what's the point? We'll have to see when we get to book number 36. Thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed, please like and subscribe. It makes my day to see people enjoy this hyperfixation of mine, so I'll see you in 2 weeks for the next book. Be careful what you wish for.